through tech-assisted answers, so having a look at the tech-assisted bit, looking at the multiple choice first off. So we've got section 1 here, looking at multiple choice, where we've got this first one where it's asking for the domain. So we can do this in our CAS. We can just type in domain and then type in the function. We've done this previously when we've been doing graphing and stuff, so maybe you didn't remember about this, but again, you could have just done that. Okay, you could have graphed it on your CAS. All right, so we know that it's going to be C. If I look at the next question, it says, which of the following cannot be simplified to an integer? So we want B will give us 2, A will give us 3, and then C, we can see that it's just going to be log 510, because times log 5, that becomes 1, so we know it's going to be log 510, because there's no way that that's going to end up being an integer, so we know it's C. If we look at question 3, we can look at which statements are true. So these are just some of the log laws, basically, or log rules come into effect, where different things happen, and we know that it's B because it's when we add two logs together with the same base, we multiply the elements that are within the bracket. So that's 2 times x, which is 2x, so we know it's B. 4, looking at the inverse, swapping x and y to where their positions are, then solve for y, so we can go divide both sides by 4, turn the 8 into 2 to the power of 3, so we can turn it into 2 to the power of 3y. Then x log, make it into a log, so then we've got log 2, x divided by 4 equals 3 over 3 times y, and then y equals a third log 2 x over 4 in brackets. So of course then the answer is A for this one. If we look at C, C is, again, we can define these things, so we can define the equation, all right, just remembering from ages ago where we can do just define it here. So we can say, 2 plus 3 to the power of x and define it, and then work out f2x, and then just make sure you put the time symbol in there, minus f of x. You'll get that. Then we just have to simplify it a little bit. So in other words, factorize it. So once we factorize it, then we can say, well, if we take 3 to the power of x out, we have 3 to the power of x left over, and then minus 1. So that's why it's C. If you look at the next question, again, this is a prove question. So when there's a prove question, you only focus on one side of the equal sign, right? Like we've done before previously in other topics, right? And then at the very end, you say left-hand side equals right-hand side, all right? So again, you show only on one side. So minusing the same log base means with division, so 56 divided by 7 gives us 8, log 2 gives us 1. We can simplify or make 8 into 2 to the power of 3, bring the 3 at the front, log 2 becomes 1, so 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 equals 4. Hence, left-hand side equals right-hand side. Okay, and you really have to say that in proofs. When there's a proof question, you really do have to say left-hand side equals right-hand side after you show, because that's the other way they the other word they use as well is show. All right, you have to then say, this side equals this side, all right, at the very end. Question 2, solve for the x. So again, turn the 81 into an exponential, 3 to the power of 4. Then we've got 2x minus 2 is less than or equal to 4. And then solve it like an algebraic equation. So then add the 2 to both sides. So 2x, 4 plus 2 is 6. So 2x is less than or equal to 6. Divide both sides by 2. X is less than or equal to 3. Asymptote. So this asymptote, ax plus b. So the asymptote is minus b over a. So that's why it's x equals minus 2 over 3, because we're talking about a logarithm. And logarithms are always x equal asymptotes. Alright, so that's for this one, for 3a. 3b, we're trying to find the inverse of it. So we swap x and y where the positions of x and y are. So then we have x equaling log 2 in brackets 3y plus 2. We turn it into an exponential, so 2 to the power of x equals 3y plus 2, and solve basically for y. So just basically transform it into y equals. So 2 to the power of x minus 2 equals 3 times y. Divide both sides by 3, so y equals 2 to the power of x minus 2 over 3. If we go to question 3c, then we're trying to find the intersection points, and of course if you're going to do that you need to graph them both. So of course we'll need to graph them both. So if we go back to the question here, I've got the original question here, this logarithm. So of course I'm going to have to put the log, and it's a base 2. So 3 times x plus 2 in, there it is there. And then of course I need to press menu function and put our new, right, our new inverse in. So of course you can do 1 divided by 3 times and then in bracket all the rest, that's fine. Or you can just press control divide by sign, that gives you the fraction, then 2 to the power of x minus 2 divided by 3, hit enter, and then find the intersection points. You don't have to graph it. You can go in and just go solve for x and y, all right, and put the 2 graphs in there, of course. So we can do it this way as well. Totally up to you which way you prefer to do it. One way it will be quicker than the other. All right, so just bear that in mind as well. So we've got that. We'll need a y equals, and of course then we need a and in it, y equals control 2 to the power of x minus 2 over 3, and then comma x comma y. And here's my two, that's my first point. And of course, if I can't see them all, I can just put the cursor in there and just move along. There's my second point. The graph will show you the same thing as well. So you can do analyze graph, of course, intersection, and go, there's the first one, analyze graph, intersection, and there's the second one. Now, of course, we're talking about 3 decimal places, so you might have to just right click on that and change it to 3 decimal places. So you just click on that, right click, and then change the attributes. So you can change the attributes to 3, so then you can see what the value is going to be. All right, easily do that, or you can do it this way. All right, up to you which way is easier for you. Then find any asymptotes, of course, intercepts. So of course, probably the easiest way for you to do this is obviously to do it on here, because then you can then go, okay, graph, analyze graph, 0, this graph first. All right, then you can work out what the y-intercept is. You can do the same thing with this one, but of course if this is going through 1, 0, then of course this is going through 0, 1. Hence why I've got these ones here. That's the answer to both the intercepts, and then explain why the axis intercepts found in D are coordinal reflection of each other. You can mention that these two graphs are inverse of each other. You can see that it's reflected through the y equals x line. So there's a couple of reasons why and what you could write for this to get 1 mark, but you had to say something along those lines, either one of those sort of statements, and you would get 1 mark for it. If we go to the next one, so these are all the application sort of questions. If we go to the next one, we've been given this equation. We don't know what the constant is, but we have been told what the initial rat population is, which is 50 grand. So that's obviously A is 50,000. So that would get you 1 mark. And then it says, however, after 10 weeks, the population has doubled. So we know that P10, because after 10 weeks, the population has doubled. So it's gone from 50,000 to 100,000. These are the values that you need to substitute in to give me what K is, or to work out what the constant is. All right. If you divide 100,000 by 50,000, you get 2. Then you turn it into a log. Then you've got K equals log E2 divided by 10. And then you can put it into decimal values. All right. Now we know what K is. Then what we need to do is write the equation again. This time make sure it's double what it was previously. So 200,000 starting at 100,000, because we want to know when it's going to be doubled again. So again, go through the same process, find T equals 10 weeks. So you can either say, so you'll need to say something, right, as in when this 10 weeks is. All right, so you can either say it will take another 10 weeks to double again, or it took 20 weeks from the initial stop in rubbish collection to achieve 200,000 rats. So you could say either one's fine. If we go to the third section, which is extended response, okay, we have been given a formula. All you need to do for the first two is substitute T equals 2 into the formula to get 81.868, and then substitute T equals 5 and get 366.89. What we can do in our CAS for the next one, when we're trying to find K, we can define HT because we've got the formula up there, and like I've written there, you can put in solve HT plus 1 equals K time HT, solve for K equals 33 over 20 or 1.65. How long to the nearest hour does it take for 100 hectares to be burned? We let that equal Y, find out T equals 7 hours. All right, so again, you'd be expected to write the formula down that you were using, so the substitution values into the equation like I've done there, and then solve it on your CAS for what T is. And that is it for the solutions.